So we will have our speaker, Dr. Neil O'Connor. So he is the Managing Director of Ricebox. He's going to present how to negotiate with your suppliers. So welcome, Dr. O'Connor.
I'm Professor at Monash University, but don't be discouraged by that, because I've spent the last 10 years visiting factories in China, doing audits, giving advice in sourcing, and it's just a passion of mine to go into the factories and actually help factories improve. A lot of pro bono stuff I'm doing across the border. In the process, I made a course with my colleague Mike Bellamy. We put on Udemy, and so there is a code here that will give you the whole course for $50 US. But I'm not here to sell you anything. If you stay to the end, I'll give you the code that allows you to get into the course for free. Okay? So hang in there, and we'll give value during this process and then value right at the end. So, and there's my email here. And by the way, if you click on China Sourcing Academy now and click on Hot Link, you can download the PDF files we're using today, right now. So you don't have to ask me in half an hour, can I have the slide deck? You can get it now. You've got your smartphone, you know how it works, okay? ChinaSourcingAcademy.com, so check that out. All right, setting the scenes for negotiations. I want to talk about a few things, but here is something that I would ask all of buyers. Where are your strengths, and where are your weaknesses? So if we were to see three different areas, that is structuring the relationship with the supplier, the factory. The other one is in the due diligence and legal documentation. And the third one is in the measurement and verification. In some way, I'm talking about the top part, because you can outsource this to lawyers. And there's plenty of lawyers out there who want to sell you their services. You can outsource this to third-party inspectors. Well, I've got something to say about them too. So today's talk's more about the top part, but I've got something to say about the other two as we go through. What do? I just like going into the trade shows, but everyone can do that. You can go and check out the products. But what I do is I go to the exact same factories and see, okay, there was the $6 650 FOB product, and this was the $30 FOB product. That's the difference. That's the difference in the two factories. And so I do encourage buyers to go visit a factory. What's that got to do with negotiation? It's got everything to do with negotiation, because you cannot negotiate unless you fully understand the context in which the supplier is supplying goods to you. Their context is not the trade show here. Their context is the factory. So you go to their context. That's where you can get a big difference, right? So which one are you going to source from? You've got to pay more money. $30 US FOB for the headphones here, $6.50 FOB for the headphones here. Okay, you get what you pay for. You all know that. Okay, I'm not here to tell you to suck eggs. Okay, at the trade show, what can you do? Here is something that I encourage everyone, and I drive my students crazy with this. I say, stop writing on your smartphone and your computer and get a piece of paper. Sorry, environmentally unfriendly. But when you go around a trade show, you clip all your visits to the suppliers and you start making a table so you can have some comparison. What does that table look like? It may look like this, where you have supply 1, 2, and 3. And there's a particular product, it doesn't matter, but you are putting down different contexts or different dimensions of that product. When you go into negotiation, a lot of these things, for many of you, you're smart, it's in your mind. You know what supplier A is selling for. You know what supplier B, you know what supplier C. It's in your mind. But in negotiation, how can you get more tractability in negotiation? By opening up your pad that shows all of the comparisons that you have been doing. Let the suppliers see that. Directly and indirectly, it doesn't matter. Let the supplier know that, hey, you're systematic about this. Okay? All right? But if you don't do this on paper, it's in your mind, how can you tell the supplier, oh, I know what your competitors are selling for. Yeah, all buyers tell me that. But if you show it on paper, you've done your work, that's the difference. Okay? Negotiation begins with showing that you have done your proof of work. Proof of work is not just a cryptocurrency term. It's your power in the negotiation. Show that, hey, you are serious about getting a reasonable deal. I say reasonable, I'm not talking about you beating the supplier up. It's about a win-win relationship, as I'm about to go on to. Okay, so as you can see, there are so many different dimensions of a particular product. Of course, electronics here, fine, you can apply this to any product. Plastics, households, fashion, what have you. They're all different dimensions that you can record, especially the delivery time, especially the MOQ, especially the production time, the lead time. These are things you should write down, because it's not about having in mind, it's about showing the supplier that you have these different comparisons in front of you. Okay, wow, there's a lot of stuff that you can bring. All right, what can you learn from third-party inspectors? Everything. Please do not outsource to third-party inspectors. What do I mean? I mean, you learn from third-party inspectors. That can help in your negotiation. How do you learn from third-party inspectors? Well, you just do this. You actually, what if you're sourcing knives? Do they sell knives here? I'm not sure, home products expert. I'd expect there's knives. No knives? Okay, why not? There should be knives somewhere. There are knives. Okay, so if you're interested in buying knives, then you need to go to the third-party inspector and understand the testing lab that tests knives. So what have we got here? Type A, straight edge, requires 60 cycles to cut through 15 centimetres of special material. If it's serrated edge, you should be able to do 200 cycles, 150 centimetres. That would be good to know if you're negotiating with a knife manufacturer. You with me here? So where did I learn that from? Did I Google, go online? No, I went straight to the inspector and asked the inspector, the lab, and find out what are the type of tests involved in the product that I'm negotiating with the supplier. Are you with me? Okay, so the third-party inspectors, they're teaching you. So how many of you have gone to one of the third-party inspectors during this trade show? Anyone? No one. Go and talk to them, because they will teach you about your product more often than what your supplier can teach you. Okay? Learn from the third-party inspector. It's so important. Don't just hive it off and they'll do their job. They may not do their job either. So just work with them. Your relationship with the third-party inspector is probably more important, just equally important as your relationship with the supplier. Okay, we're talking about negotiations here. This helps get you more information for negotiations. So then what do you do after that? Okay, you've been to a trade show. You've gone and made a product list and you've done a comparison. Then you've gone to third-party inspectors and you spoke to them about specific aspects of your product. Okay, so you've got information. But use that information, put it in a tactile fashion so you can actually show the supplier you've been doing your homework. Okay, what do you do now? Go to the factory. Well, we can go to the factory and start doing a comparison again. Factory 1, Factory 2, Factory 3. And then we can talk about different aspects of going to the factory. No, this talk is not just about visiting the factory, but visiting the factory is an important aspect of the negotiation. There are two strategies once you get to the factory stage of negotiation. Two strategies that really, I want you to pay attention, because it's a little bit different from what they teach you at Harvard. Okay? It's a little bit different from what they teach you in university. I know, because I'm a professor in a university, all right? And I don't teach my students that stuff. I teach what I've learned in the field. And this is what you learn in the field. When you go to a supplier, unsuccessful buyers do not ask these two questions. Can I see your cost breakdown? Second question, can I see your QC sheet? How many of you have asked your supplier, can I see your cost breakdown? And you're probably thinking, well, suppliers will never ever tell you that. Or if they tell you, they may just bend the truth a little bit. Why would you ask that question? I want you to think about it. Because you name any price to a supplier, as long as they know you're going to come back again and again and again, they'll give you whatever price you want at the start. Second time, they will get you. That's one. They have opposing strategies. If your only negotiating strategy is to beat down on price, that's not a good strategy. But asking for a cost breakdown is not about beating the supplier down on price. It is about understanding how much the supplier knows about their own business model. If they don't know much, they may not be here in 6 months' time. Oh, here's another tip, by the way. You've been to the trade show. How many of you have come? This is your first trade show? Second? Third? Okay, here's a tip. Don't buy from a supplier that you see first time at the trade show. Wait for the second trade show to see, oh, the supplier's still there. Now that supplier is on my good list. Okay, all right. Because if the supplier's gone 6 months later, a lot of them, that happens to a lot of them, then it doesn't help you if you end up buying from a supplier that's not going to be around 6 months' time. You need to negotiate for the second order, the third order, the fourth order. No, what I mean is, you're not asking the supplier to commit to the second, third, and fourth, but you need to have that in mind, that you need to have a reasonable deal on the second order, third order, fourth order. Okay, so that's the strategy number one. Understanding the cost, so you want to know the supply is going to be around in 6 months' time. Strategy number two, and that is, hate to say this, try helping the supplier. Can you do that? Yes, you can. Let me show you how. Strategy number two is about expanding the value share between you and the supplier. If you can help the supplier save money, maybe you can share half that saving. And that's how you get the price down, rather than asking give me a lower price or I'll go away. Okay? Okay? What we want to do is try and get a value share. How do we do that? Well, you do this. You go and visit the factory, you know that. But I just want to show you two business models of factories. They're making a lot of money, but the business models are totally different. This factory here is selling to audio manufacturers, car manufacturers in China. No international sales. And they've got heaps of inventory in their showroom. We're talking about over $1 million yuan inventory just hanging around. Why? Because when the auto manufacturer brings up and asks for an order, they need to be able to supply immediately, right? Because the customer is very, very strong, right? Here, they're just making USBs. And so, are they making money on that? Yeah, they made $3 million US a year. How are they doing that? They're selling to corporates and associations. Do they care about quality? No. Does it matter? No. Because when you get a free USB from a corporate association, do you complain if it doesn't work? Okay, all right. So, two different business models, but they work. What I'm saying here, not all factories are the same. Okay, so you've got to show an interest in finding out how's the supplier making money sustainably. All right. The first presentation today was about sustainability. Well, getting to know the factory is important before starting to tell the factory what to do. Okay, what else can we learn from the factories that helps in negotiation? One is the separation, because you may tell the supplier, look, I'm a small buyer, maybe you don't do this for me, but when a large buyer comes, this is what you need to do. And the supplier will say, oh wow, you'll give me an advice to help me do better for the big buyers? Yes, I want to help you win big business with the big buyers. Now, you'll love me more even though I'm a small buyer, but because I'm helping, give me advice. What's some of the advice? Separation, simple advice like that. Okay, look, point, advice, simple. Oh, Mr. Supplier, when a big buyer comes along and they see all this stacked on each other, they're going to walk away if they have a comparable factory. Mr. Supplier, please separate all of this, and you will get bigger orders from your large customers. Wow, why you tell me this? Well, I want to have a long-term relationship with you, even though I'm only given small orders. You with me here? So you're not asking the supplier to do this for you, you're doing this for their big customers. So you're giving them advice. So there's separation here, that's an example of the difference. Okay, one of the top smartphone manufacturers in Shenzhen and another manufacturer. Okay, so what else can you do when you're on the factory floor that helps in the negotiation? What other advice? Well, we found a problem with the QC sheet where the micro SD chip wouldn't go in and wouldn't read properly in the audio player. So we went back to 2 stages to find out where the problem is. See, that's where we found the problem. And then you just walk the supplier around the factory to where the problem is. So we find that's the problem there. The micro SD won't go in there properly, or when it goes in, it doesn't read properly. So that's a big problem, right? Okay, so let's go back through the factory to find out what is going on. And so first of all, it could be where they're actually screwing the electronics onto the plastic outer casing. So let's go to find out where they're doing that. And so we see here that they should have a mold, so there's less variation in this activity. A mold meaning they can slot the whole casing there and it doesn't jiggle around. Okay? It's all about reducing variation. You don't need to be an engineer to give simple advice like that. Then we go around to the soldering. And so this guy here is cross-legged on a stool, looks uncomfortable, and then he's jiggling this around. You can see it's moving and he's soldering. Again, another mold here to reduce variation. Am I an engineer? No. Every one of you can just observe, hey, maybe try this, okay? Not just for me, I'm a small buyer, so don't listen to me, but for when the large customer comes, then you'll win their business. Okay, so that's how you can help. What's another way you can help? Well, after talking to one supplier, just pro bono advice right in the conference room of the factory. You're probably thinking, well, they listen to me because I'm a professor. No, they don't have time to listen to you if you don't have anything worthwhile to say, okay? And so here I was explaining the big problem this supplier had was with the slow delivery of products. They're always missing delivery times. And I said, well, tell us about all the different stages of your supply chain. I say you need to manage your raw materials coming in. If you can cut that down and reduce the variation of raw materials coming in, then you can actually get deliveries done quicker. And over here, I was just talking more about different parts of the supply chain, how you can make things cleaner. So, okay, pro bono advice, factory ideas. These are things you do on the factory. And again, you're a small potato, they're not going to listen to you, but you tell the supplier, this is something that large buyers will pay attention to. They'll listen to that because the large buyers bring the big money for the factory. Okay, so there we go. That helps in your negotiation. So these are different things. And of course, there are many other ideas that you can have for negotiations. Of course, maybe you want to say that your market ultimately is in the USA, but once you get into that third stage when you're in the factory and you start telling them, oh, the advice I'm giving you will help you with your big customer, they're going to start forgetting about where your market is. They're going to start thinking about, wow, he's helping me get better business with this customer, okay? Without that, then you've got to pretend, oh, my ultimate market's going to be USA, all right? So then you should listen to me, and if I ask for a 5% discount, then you need to give it to me, right? That's the old style of negotiation, okay? The other one is help the supplier first. Find ways to help the factory. What about after the factory? Of course, you've got to be careful in negotiations, because if you see a very high-end factory like this and there's a lower-end factory here, this one may give you the similar price to this one on the first order, but on the second order they're going to jack the price up. And that is exactly what happened to one of my clients, because I did an audit for these two factories, and the product was one of those digital picture frames. This one was $23 US FOB. This one was $20 US FOB. On the second order, it went straight up to 26, then 28. And each order was 5,000. So you do the math. Suddenly, you're paying 15,000 US more for the same order the second time, then 10,000 more the same order the third time. Okay? Why can they do that? Because look, pristine factory, everything's perfect. So the buyer came to me, Neil, what do I do? What do I do? I can't even negotiate with this factory. This is too powerful. I said, let's go back to this one, all right? Okay, they've got problems, so what do? Well, we take $1 US out of every unit ordered and put it into third-party inspection. You order 5,000, you put 5,000 towards inspection. So 20 plus 1, that's $21 US. Now you've got $5,000 to spend on inspection. What can you do with that? That can give you 10, 12 days of inspection. You can just about inspect nearly every single item coming off the production line. If you can get that assurance, then you're home and hose anyway, even though the factory has problems with dust and different things like that. Okay, so think about the power of the supplier. Let's sum this up. 3-circle control framework. Develop a relationship with a third-party inspection company. Why? Because they can teach you. They're at the trade show, go and visit them today, tomorrow. Talk to them. Ask them to teach you about your product. What is the one thing that I need to know about this product that I'm sourcing? Bang, okay? The one thing, okay? Use the factory to help in your negotiations. You're a small potato, give advice in the context that if you follow my advice, that will help you get the big potatoes and do better business. That's how you negotiate with the suppliers. It's about helping them first, right? Developing that relationship, because you want them around in 6 months, 12 months' time. Finally, ex post, just think about the supply power. Sometimes you may need to trade off a weak factory with more investment in third-party inspection. Okay, so today's presentation is a bit about factory visits, but actually how you can use that to empower your negotiation, even if you are a small potato. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. O'Connor, for the very useful presentation on the strategy to negotiate with the suppliers. So now we will receive some questions from the floor. So any of you have questions for Dr. O'Connor, please raise your hand. We'll pass the microphone to you. So this gentleman here.
Can you put up the first slide you had, so because I didn't catch that one.
Let me do better. There's the free code. Okay. We better use it today before everyone uses it. Okay. Right. And the top one you can download the slides from there. All right. And please email me if you have problems here. neil@ricebox.com.
Any questions? Yeah. Please feel free to raise your hand. So yes, so you may email Dr. O'Connor for more questions. Then, so once again, we thank you, Dr. O'Connor, for the really insightful sharing. Thank you so much.